Welcome to Excel Chapter 2. I wanted to go over this worksheet because we're going to be using it for the entirety of the lesson for this chapter, with the exception of a couple of videos. And I always recommend that when you're working with a spreadsheet, that the first thing you do is take a minute and figure out what the heck this spreadsheet's supposed to be doing. In the real world, you're going to know what your spreadsheet's supposed to be doing. But here in this scenario, you're really not. So it kind of goes back to, you don't want to be that dog doing a trick. You don't want to just be click here, do this, do that. You really want to understand the why, the reason behind what you're doing. So this scenario here is a real estate finance. If you've ever had a mortgage, right, you know you have a loan number. You know that the house cost you a certain amount. So you can see here in range B8 through B12, that's what the house cost. In C8 through C12 is the down payment for each one. So for our first loan number here, the house cost was $600,000 and the down payment is $200,000. We're going to need to calculate all the areas in blue. That's what we're going to be doing for the entirety of this this chapter. Okay. So you can see here I kind of zoomed back out. We're going to be looking at calculating the amount financed. The rate per period, so we have their mortgage rate. We're going to have to figure out their rate per period. We have the number of years of the loan. We're going to be calculating how many payments in total, what percent was financed, and then when it will be paid off, which is always a nice thing to know. And then we have some summary statistics down here where we're going to be calculating the total house cost, the average house cost, the median, the lowest house cost of all of our loans, the highest house cost, the total number of mortgages, and those same statistics for the down payment and amount financed. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on. We're also going to be figuring out how to grab today's date in one of our videos. Okay, so for our first video here, to calculate the amount financed, this kind of goes back to a formula that we learned in the first video. We learned that every formula always, or I should say the first chapter's video, every formula always starts with a equal sign. So our amount financed would be our house cost minus our down payment. So I'm going to do equal. I'm going to use my mouse. I can't say that enough. I'm using my mouse to point out what cell I want. So I'm going to click on cell B8. Please don't type the cell references in, because you're going to end up making some mistakes. And really, when we get to later chapters where we're working with multiple worksheets and multiple workbooks, you can't type it in anymore. So you want to get used to using your mouse. Now I'm going to hit minus on my keyboard, and I'm going to go with a cell C8, which is my down payment, and I'm going to hit Control Enter, because remember that keeps the focus on the cell. And I see here that 600 minus 200 is 400,000, and that's the amount that I'm going to be taking out for the loan. I don't want to have to recreate that for every cell, and we know from Chapter 1 that we can fill this down. So if I drag it down, because of relative cell referencing, right, B8 to C8 in this particular formula, once I fill it down one, what's going to change is my row reference. So it's going to add one because I'm filling it down one. It's going to make it B9 to C9. So sure enough, when I come here, I see it's B9 to C9, right? And then down here, it made it B10 to C10, and B11 to C11, and B12 to C12. It's always good to verify, even when you're filling, that it did what you wanted it to do, right? Keeping in mind that all I'm doing to make this happen, to show you the formula in the cell, is just double clicking it. I only do that because it's easier for you to see rather than trying to look up here on the formula bar. But for your purposes, anything that you do, you could modify up here on the formula bar as well. You could click up there as well. Okay, so that introduced the concept of relative cell referencing and basically the overall where we're heading in this chapter. We're going to learn a lot about different functions. We're going to be moving on to talk about functions and the power behind functions. I think it's a challenging chapter, but it's pretty much really covers the meat and potatoes of Excel, what Excel is good at. So see you in the next one.